Hi everybody, I'm Alex Akavon and this is my entertainment law vlog, and today we're going to be talking about music. Mostly we're going to talk about how we use music in film and television, but going to get a little bit about what makes the music world so interesting. So starting off the bat with the fact that every song actually comes with 2 copyrights. That's a little unusual because a copyrighted work is usually one work. You write a book, you have a copyright in the book. You make a movie, you have a copyright in the movie. But if you make a song, there's 2 copyrights happening. One is the composition of the song, the lyrics, the melody, the creation of the song. The other is the sound recording of the song, so the specific recording of the composition. So if I write a song and I play the song, then I have both. The recording of the composition that I wrote. But often what happens is people make new versions of songs. You've seen many people do covers or, add things to songs, and that's what creates a new master recording. So if you're making a movie and you want a famous song, you got to ask not only the person who composed the song, the person who created it, but also, do you want that exact version of the song? Do you want that particular sound recording? Sometimes it's the same owner, oftentimes it's different owners, and you might have to go to both of them. Another thing you could do, though, is get the composition permission, that part secured, but maybe you create your own sound recording. You hire your own musicians and you do your own version of it. You then own that sound recording, while the original person who composed the song owns that aspect of it. Now, what we often deal with in entertainment is synchronization licenses. And that can be kind of expensive depending on how the song is, because that's privately negotiated with the song owner. So it's synchronization because you have the audio, but also visual elements. And that's usually what we call it when you go to a song, a famous song, and you want it in your movie. You want to add it to your soundtrack. It'll often create a new deal where maybe you sell the soundtrack, but you've just negotiated how you're going to split the profits that come from that soundtrack. So that's one pretty standard version, acquiring music that already exists and either re-recording it yourself or getting an exact version. So the recording and the composition. One example of how to demonstrate the difference between those two is Whitney Houston singing "I Will Always Love You." That is a very famous version, but that song was actually composed by Dolly Parton. So if you see that song in a movie, then whoever has the ownership of Whitney Houston's recording of it will get their chunk of change, while Dolly Parton will also get her chunk of change as the composition owner of that song. Now, there's also this world of public performance royalties. That's how radio stations and bars and clubs can play copyrighted music to a group of people by making deals with performing rights organizations. The big ones are ASCAP and BMI, whose job it is to go and find out basically what songs have been played in public and make deals to get the artists compensation for the playing of their music. That's one way musicians can make money. Now, another way you can make money, you can use music in a film or a television show, is if you commission it from musicians. So we call that a work for hire. I'm sure we'll be talking about work for hire throughout this vlog, but in general, it's you hire someone to make something you own. You commission the music. So most movie scores, they hire a composer. They say, hey, you're going to make a score for our film that we're going to own. We're going to own the composition and the recording that you make. That way, they can do whatever they want with it. It's fresh music. The composer gets paid a certain amount to create the music, but it will be owned by the producer or the studio. So, for example, Disney has a lot of great songs that were composed by Alan Menken. He was likely hired as a work for hire, which means Disney owns the songs in their entirety, can do whatever they want with them. If you want to use a Disney song in your movie, you're going to need their permission, and maybe they'll let you re-record it, and you can own your own sound recording of it, but the composition rights would still be owned by them. And, it can get kind of complicated when you have multiple songs that make up one song. So hip-hop, for example, samples a lot of music. So sometimes a great hip hop song will actually take an older song and incorporate elements into the new one. So how do you decide who composed that? Well, literally, you find the percentages. You figure out exactly what percentage of the original song was used, and then you split up the composition based on that percentage. And it can get really complicated. I've seen songs where one musician has 1% of the song, and maybe there's 15, 20 other people who are splitting the pie of the composition because that song is made up of a lot of other songs. So, getting permission to use those in your movie can get kind of complicated, which is why often people negotiate with record labels or other publishing organizations that own the rights to these composition copyrights, and they can license them to you. And finally, for the modern segment, you see TikTok and Instagram, people use songs. That's because those companies have negotiated for a catalog of music that their users can use in their posts. It's also why you don't usually typically use the whole song. There's conditions that come with it, but those companies have gotten the relevant permission to have those songs on their platform, and then the end user, you, can make your video with putting that song up, and then usually says who the song is and a way to get that song yourself if you want to download it or stream it on Spotify, however you want to do it. And finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about AI, because a lot of people are using AI generated songs. And generally speaking, and we can talk about AI in another video, but things that are written by AI aren't copyrightable. So if you have AI write a song, that's going to be public. Anyone can use it. The challenge, though, is what if it's a song that sounds like an existing song? What if it's a song in the style of a specific person? Those are the type of modern issues entertainment lawyers are grappling with. So we'll see where it goes. But for purposes of this video, know that every song has 2 royalties. If you want to use it in your film or TV show, you're going to have to get permission, at least from the composition person, then possibly the original sound recording, or maybe you make your own sound recording. Alternatively, you hire someone as a work for hire to make music that you will own indefinitely, and then you become the owner, having paid that person for the music. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this, and see you soon.